Hello, we are going to be making pinch pots today. Really, there's only a few steps to making a pinch pot. Step 1, you roll your clay into a sphere or a ball. You can't overroll it or it'll get dried out. Step 2, you push your thumb into the center of the clay sphere. Step 3, you pinch the clay with your thumb and your forefinger, starting at the bottom and turning as you go. Step 4, you stop pinching when the pot is wide enough. And step 5, you smooth with your fingertips and a damp sponge, or maybe a spray bottle and a damp finger. After finishing your work, you want to flatten the bottom by pressing it gently against the flat surface like the tabletop. And you smooth all the little rough edges. You can use your fingers or tools. And you want to add some details. Use your imagination. But place your hand inside the pot when you needed added support. You don't want to have the pot or vessel lose its shape. And you can manipulate its shape with your fingers and square it off a little bit more, or they're not all going to look the same. That's what's fantastic about it. Hello, class. Today we are going to be working on making a pinch pot. Pinching is a pottery technique. It's really fundamental to manipulating clay. So making a pinch pot consists of pressing your thumb into a ball of clay and drawing the clay out into a pot by repeatedly squeezing the clay between your thumb and your fingers. So you'll receive a clay ball. You don't want to touch it too much because you're going to see that it releases some of this dusty clay onto your hands, and basically your skin is drawing out all the liquid, and you don't want it to dry out too much. So, a pinch pot. First step is rolling a ball for like 30 seconds. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you overroll it, it will dry out. So, even if it's not perfect, stop. Set it in your fingers, and then take your thumb and I'm sorry, my cat is crying. Take your thumb and press it in the middle. Press, and you can rotate, move the ball around. Now you want to make sure one thumb is in the center and your fingers on the outside, and you're going to keep rotating it around. I'm just moving around, moving around, moving around. It goes in a circular shape. It rotates. Boy, my cat is really upset today. I don't know why. And you see, I'm trying to make an even edge. And I'm going around and around and around and around. And this is an ancient tradition. I'll show you some examples of African pinch pots and Indian pinch pots. I better go check on my cat. Alright, sorry about that. You could also set your pinch pot on a tabletop and move your hands in this direction now. Now, you're trying to make the edges even. You don't want a really thin edge and a really thick edge. These little edges you want relatively even. I'm just going to pull my edge so I get a little bit more of a bowl shape. And I'm going to tap the bottom to flatten the bottom so it sits on a tabletop nicely. We want to have even pinch pot walls. You want it nice and smooth. You want it to sit on a tabletop. You want to smooth out the little edge here. You might be able to use a little bit of water smooth out any fingerprints. Never add too much water to a piece of pottery. It turns back into like a muddy consistency. If you don't have any water, I could take a little spritzer and spritz your pot for you. I kind of like this one flat and low. Yours might be taller. Mine's a little smaller. And of course, we can use a simple tool like a pencil to add some designs. Now, boys and girls, clay is actually found in the earth, not unlike mud, I guess, but it has a different consistency, and you can feel that it's not like mud. Mud will just crumble apart eventually. This will hold together, and I really like the shape of it. It's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect if it's made by a human being, but I like the way it sits on the table, and I think I'm ready for some designs, and I'm just going to use a simple pencil. Alright, now that I'm working with a nice moist piece of clay and I've kind of figured out my shape, I could fix these edges a little bit, but I'm going to use a pencil and make a little cut with the pencil. And this is called incising. You're actually cutting it really gently with a pencil tip. Of course, I don't have a pencil that's sharp, but this will have to do. And I want a really simple design. I'm going to have a little wave line coming down. You can see you pull a little bit of the clay off. I'm going to toss that here. And I'm going to have a squiggle. Maybe another little line. Ooh, it looks like a nice little wave. And I'm just tossing that extra clay. Now, I'd like to place these in the kiln and fire them, which means it's almost like baking for clay, firing. And I think I'm just going to make a few more designs. I like this wave. Now, later, after I place it in the fire, in the kiln, it's going to change its consistency from soft to a hard object that you can paint, glaze, refire, and have permanently. Now, if your pinch pot is too soft, like mine's really soft, it would be hard to design on the back. But I think I might make some dots all around. Carefully without crushing it. Once it's crushed, you cannot remake it. It will start to crack. It won't hold its shape anymore. You will see that it will be full of cracks and it'll get too dried out. But I like the simple dots. Now on the bottom of these, I'll put your name. But I'm just going to put my initials. And when you write in clay at the bottom, you can't curve your pencil. You have to almost go in straight lines only. Otherwise, it's really hard to read. Here's my K. I have a K for my first initial and a K for my last initial. Right. And I'm looking for a pot that sits nicely on a tabletop. There's fairly smooth edges and the walls are relatively the same width. There's no really rough edges. All parts of the work kind of stay together. No cracks. And we'll be able to glaze it or paint it. And if we glaze it, it could hold water without leaking. I'm just going to clean up this edge. Now all it has to do is dry for a week or so, and it would be ready to fire. All right, boys and girls, enjoy yourself. Here are just a few examples of different pinch pots. Student work and American Indian pinch pots, African pinch pots, and a variety of other student work. Boys and girls, I wanted you to see what a clay firing looks like, and that's why they call it firing. You can see how hot the coils inside the kiln oven get. Fiery red. Thousands of degrees.